The vast expanse of space stretched before Captain Sarah Chen as she stood on the observation deck of the Galactic Council's flagship. Her weathered hands clasped behind her back, she listened to the whispers and snickers from the alien delegates gathered around her. The massive holographic display showed what they had come to investigate, an ancient fleet of ships, perfectly preserved in the orbit of a distant gas giant. Primitive technology, scoffed Ambassador Zextal, his crystalline form shimmering with disdain. These vessels are at least 8,000 years old, nothing but space debris from some long-dead civilization. The other delegates nodded in agreement, their various appendages and sensory organs conveying amusement at what they considered a waste of the Council's time. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. After 30 years representing humanity in the Galactic Council, she had grown used to their condescension. Earth had only achieved faster-than-light travel a century ago, making humans relative newcomers to the galactic community. Most species had been exploring space for millennia before humans learned to harness fire. The data suggests otherwise, Ambassador, Sarah replied calmly, her voice cutting through the murmurs. Our scans indicate those ships are still operational. Their power cores are in standby mode, not dead. She tapped a few commands into the holographic interface, zooming in on one of the vessels. The sleek design was unlike anything currently known to the Council races. The laughter died down as more detailed scans appeared. The alien delegates leaned forward, their earlier dismissal giving way to puzzled interest. The ship's hull composition was impossible, an alloy that shouldn't exist according to known physics. The power readings defied conventional understanding of energy generation. But that's not the most interesting part, Sarah continued, her heart racing with the thrill of finally revealing what her team had discovered. We found markings on the ships. They're in an ancient form of human writing. Proto-Indo-European script, to be precise. The observation deck fell silent. Ambassador Zextal's crystalline form clouded with confusion. That's impossible. Your species was still hunting with stone tools 8,000 years ago. Sarah enlarged a section of the scan, revealing rows of carefully preserved symbols. That's what we thought too, but we've decrypted some of the ship's logs. These vessels weren't built by some ancient alien civilization. They were built by humans, our ancestors. The silence grew heavier as the implications sank in. If humans had achieved spaceflight thousands of years ago, what else about Earth's history remained hidden? Why had this advanced civilization seemingly vanished, leaving humanity to rebuild from scratch? There's more, Sarah added, her voice barely above a whisper now. The fleet's computers are responding to our attempts at communication. They recognize our human biosignatures. And she paused, watching the color drain from several alien faces. They're beginning to wake up. As if on cue, the holographic display flickered. The ancient ships, dormant for millennia, began to pulse with a soft blue light. One by one, their systems came online, responding to some unseen signal. The Council delegates watched in stunned silence as the fleet of humanity's forgotten past stirred to life. Sarah felt a shiver run down her spine. In all her years of space exploration, she'd never encountered anything like this. The mystery of these ships, their purpose, their creators, and why they were left here, was about to unfold. But as the first ship's engines flared to life, she couldn't shake the feeling that some mysteries were better left unsolved. The human legacy among the stars was far older and far stranger than anyone had imagined. And now, that legacy was awakening. The ancient fleet's activation sent shockwaves through the Galactic Council's command systems. Alarms blared across the observation deck as the ships began moving in perfect formation, their previously dormant engines now humming with an energy signature unlike anything in the Council's vast database. Captain Chen, a junior officer, called out, his voice trembling, "We're detecting quantum entanglement signatures from the fleet. They're trying to communicate with something." The holographic display shifted, showing waves of energy pulses radiating from the ancient vessels into deep space. Sarah felt her chest tighten. In all the scenarios she planned for, this wasn't one of them. The fleet wasn't just waking up, it was calling out. But to whom? And why now, after 8,000 years of silence. Ambassador Zextal's crystalline form had lost its earlier mockery, now vibrating with barely contained anxiety. "Captain, I suggest we withdraw to a safe distance. We have no idea what these vessels are capable of." Several other delegates nodded in agreement, already backing away from the observation windows. "No," Sarah replied firmly, her eyes fixed on the display. "This is humanity's heritage. We need to understand it." She turned to her science officer. "What can you tell me about those energy signatures?" The officer, Dr. Robert Hayes, studied his readings with intense concentration. "The quantum patterns are unlike anything in our records, but," he paused, double-checking his data, "they share similarities with ancient Earth artifacts found in the Giza complex and beneath the Pacific Ocean." This revelation sent a new wave of murmurs through the alien delegates. The mysterious underwater structures discovered off Earth's coast have been a source of heated debate in the scientific community for decades. Their technology had appeared far too advanced for ancient humans, leading many to attribute them to extraterrestrial visitors. "There's something else," Dr. Hayes continued, his voice dropping lower. "The ship's AI systems are becoming more active. They're accessing our databases, learning our current languages, and they're asking questions." Sarah leaned forward. "What kind of questions?" "They want to know what year it is. They're asking about Earth, about human civilization." And he swallowed hard. "They're asking about something called the Protocol." The term sent a chill through Sarah's spine. During her years of research into Earth's ancient mysteries, she'd encountered references to the Protocol in fragments of texts from various ancient cultures. Always in whispers, always with a sense of both hope and dread. The fleet's movements suddenly changed. The ships began arranging themselves in a complex geometric pattern, their hulls gleaming under the distant starlight. As they watched, symbols began appearing on the ship's surfaces, glowing lines and curves that shifted and changed like living things. "Captain," Dr. Hayes called out urgently, "we're detecting massive energy buildups within the fleet. They're preparing for something." Sarah made a quick decision. Open a direct communication channel. If these ships were built by humans, then they should recognize me as one of their own. She stepped forward, her voice clear and steady. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of Earth, representing the human race. We seek peaceful contact." The response was immediate. The symbols on the ship's hulls pulsed with brilliant light, and a voice echoed through the observation deck, not through the speakers, but directly in their minds. It spoke in an ancient language that somehow everyone present could understand. "Children of Earth," the voice resonated, carrying the weight of millennia. "The stars have turned many times since we were hidden away. But now the time approaches. The protocol must be upheld." The fleet's energy readings continued to climb, and Sarah realized they were standing on the brink of something that would change humanity's understanding of its own history forever. But as the ancient ships prepared for whatever came next, one question burned in her mind. What price would they pay for uncovering the truth about humanity's forgotten past? The ancient voice's words still echoed in Sarah's mind as the fleet's energy readings reached levels that threatened to overload their sensors. The geometric pattern formed by the ships began to rotate, creating what looked like a massive three-dimensional mandala in space. Each vessel pulsed with increasing intensity, their mysterious alloy now seeming to bend the very light around them. "Captain," Dr. Hayes shouted over the growing hum that permeated the observation deck, "the ships are accessing our historical databases. They're reviewing Earth's history since their departure. All of it, our wars, our progress, our struggles." His hands flew over the controls as he tried to keep up with the flood of data exchanges. Ambassador Zextal moved closer to Sarah, his crystalline form now dulled with concern. "Captain Chen, there are legends among the older council races," he spoke quietly, "of a civilization that once protected the galaxy from something. Something that made even the most advanced species tremble. The records were mostly destroyed, but," he hesitated, "the few fragments that survived spoke of human guardians." Sarah's mind raced through all the archaeological mysteries that had puzzled Earth's scientists for centuries. The perfectly cut stones of Pumapunku, the underwater structures that seemed to defy the laws of physics, the cave paintings that depicted impossible technologies. Had their ancestors been more than just primitive humans struggling to survive? The ancient voice spoke again, this time with an urgency that made everyone on the deck flinch. The seals are weakening. That which we guarded against stirs once more. We must determine if humanity remains worthy of the responsibility entrusted to them. Before Sarah could respond, the ship's pattern shifted. A beam of energy connected each vessel, forming a perfect geometric web. In the center, space itself began to distort, creating what looked like a window into somewhere else. Or perhaps someone else. "My God," Dr. Hayes whispered, staring at his readings. "They're generating a temporal viewport. They're showing us what they were protecting us from." The viewport crystallized, and what they saw made the alien delegates recoil in horror. Beyond the window was another dimension, a place where the laws of physics seemed more like suggestions. Massive entities moved in that impossible space, their forms defying description, their very presence an affront to rational thought. The void dancers, the ancient voice explained, each word heavy with remembered dread. They who would unmake reality itself for their own amusement. We were chosen to stand guard, to keep them from breaking through to this dimension. But we could not maintain our vigil forever. We hid our fleet, waiting for humanity to reach the stars again. Sarah stepped forward, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Why reveal yourselves now? Why wake after so many thousands of years?" The viewport shifted, showing current images from across the galaxy. Strange distortions in space, unexplained phenomena that had been increasing over the past decade. "The barriers thin," the voice responded. "The void dancers sense your civilization's growing power. They'd hunger for it. We must determine if humanity remembers its true purpose, if you are ready to take up the mantle of guardianship once more." The ship's energy levels suddenly spiked again, and the viewport began to expand. Through it, Sarah could see something moving, something vast and ancient turning its attention toward their reality. The fleet's pattern began spinning faster, and symbols of power older than human civilization itself blazed across their hulls. "The time of testing is upon us," the voice declared. "Earth's children must prove themselves worthy of their inheritance, or all reality will pay the price of our failure." Sarah felt the weight of history, of responsibility, pressing down on her shoulders. Whatever came next would determine not just humanity's fate, but the fate of all existence. As the ancient fleet prepared for what was to come, she realized that every human achievement, every step toward the stars, had been leading to this moment. The question was, would they be ready for what awaited them on the other side of that viewport? The viewport's expansion suddenly halted, its edges flickering with unstable energy. For a moment, the observation deck fell into complete silence. Then through their mental link, Sarah felt something that made her blood run cold. The ancient ships were afraid. "Multiple breaches detected," the ancient voice announced, its calm demeanor cracking. "The void dancers. They've been waiting for this moment. They've been manipulating events, weakening the barriers systematically." The holographic displays erupted with new data, showing similar temporal distortions appearing across the galaxy. Dr. Hayes' face went pale as he analyzed the incoming data. "Captain, these patterns, they match every major technological breakthrough humanity has made in the past century. Our quantum drives, our neural interfaces, even our gravity manipulation technology." He looked up, his eyes wide with realization. They weren't our discoveries at all. We were being led down a path. Sarah's mind raced back to all the seemingly miraculous scientific leaps that had propelled humanity to the stars. Had they been dancing to someone else's tune all along? The thought sent a wave of anger through her. Humanity had fought too hard, come too far, to be mere pawns in some cosmic game. "The void dancers are clever," the ancient voice confirmed. "They found they could not break through by force, so they chose subterfuge instead. Your species' drive to innovate, to explore, they twisted it, used it as a key to unlock their prison." The alien delegates watched in horror as the viewport began showing images from across human space. On every major colony, every research station, strange geometric patterns had begun appearing in the architecture, in the very layout of their cities. patterns that, seen from above, formed pieces of a vast key. But why? Sarah demanded. Why guide our development instead of simply destroying us? The answer came not from the ancient fleet, but from Ambassador Zextal. Because they couldn't, he whispered, his crystalline form resonating with ancient memories. The legend spoke of this. The Guardians didn't just fight the Void Dancers, they bound them with something unique to humanity. Something no other species possessed. Before Sarah could process this revelation, alarms blared across the deck. The viewport was changing, showing not just one reality beyond, but many. The Void Dancers had been working in multiple dimensions simultaneously, using countless versions of humanity to chip away at their prison. "We are out of time," the ancient voice declared. The protocol was never just about guarding the barriers. It was about preparing humanity for this moment, when the deception would be revealed. The fleet began to pulse with a new energy, different from before. Your ancestors knew this day would come. They knew the Void Dancers would try to use humanity's greatest strength against itself. Dr. Hayes' console erupted with new readings. "Captain, the fleet, it's not just awakening. It's transforming. These ships, they're not just vessels, they're—" He trailed off, struggling to comprehend what his instruments were telling him. "They're keys," Sarah finished, understanding dawning in her eyes. "The real keys, not the false ones we've been tricked into creating." She turned to face the viewport, where the massive forms of the Void Dancers were becoming clearer, more defined. Our ancestors didn't just hide their technology. They hid their plan. The ancient voice resonated with approval, but also urgency. "Yes, but now we face a choice. The Void Dancers' deception has created a paradox. To use the true keys, humanity must undo all they have built with the false knowledge. Everything you've achieved in the past century, it must be unmade." Sarah felt the weight of this revelation settle over the observation deck. Everything humanity had proudly built, every achievement that had taken them to the stars, was built on a foundation of lies. And now, to save reality itself, they would have to tear it all down. But as she watched the ancient fleet begin its transformation, Sarah realized this wasn't the end of humanity's journey to the stars. It was the real beginning. Sarah lifted her chin, shoulders squared as she made the hardest decision of her life. "How do we begin?" she asked, her voice carrying the determination of her entire species. The ancient fleet's response was immediate, each ship blazing with renewed purpose, their transformation accelerating. "The reset must be precise," the ancient voice explained. "Your false achievements must be unmade in exactly the reverse order they were given to you." The fleet's pattern shifted, forming what looked like an intricate clockwork mechanism in space. "But know this, you will retain the wisdom gained, if not the specific knowledge." Dr. Hayes worked frantically at his console, correlating humanity's technological timeline with the fleet's movements. "Captain, they're starting with our most recent breakthrough, the quantum tunneling communications network." As he spoke, the network that connected all human colonies began to flicker and fade. The alien delegates watched in astonishment as humanity's greatest achievements began to unravel like threads from a tapestry. But instead of chaos, each undoing revealed something deeper, more fundamental, the true paths of discovery humanity should have taken. The Void Dancers didn't account for one thing, Ambassador Zextal observed, his crystalline form reflecting the light of the unmaking. They study human innovation, human creativity, but they missed something essential about your species. Sarah watched as the quantum drives failed across human space, as the neural interfaces went dark, as the artificial gravity faded. Yet instead of panic, she felt a strange sense of liberation. "They missed our ability to let go," she said softly. "To admit when we've been wrong and start again." The viewport shimmered, showing the Void Dancers' growing agitation. Their carefully laid plan, millennia in the making, was unraveling because of a quality they couldn't comprehend: human humility in the face of truth. But as the last of the false achievements faded away, something unexpected happened. The ancient fleet's transformation completed, revealing their true nature. They weren't just ships. They were templates, seed crystals of true human innovation, waiting to be awakened by the very act of surrender. Now, the ancient voice commanded, reach out with your minds, not with the neural interfaces they gave you, but with what was always there, waiting to be discovered. Sarah closed her eyes, feeling a connection she'd never known existed. A link to both the fleet and every human present, pure and untainted by false technology. Through this connection, she saw the truth. Humanity's real strength wasn't in the technologies they'd been given, but in their ability to connect, to empathize, to understand at a level deeper than physics. The Void Dancers, realizing their mistake, began to retreat, but they'd forgotten one crucial detail. They were still bound by the original human guardians, and now that binding was being renewed, strengthened by humanity's willing sacrifice of their false progress. The final key, the ancient voice revealed, was never a technology at all. It was this moment, when humanity would choose truth over power, wisdom over advancement, unity over individual glory. As the last traces of the false timeline faded away, the ancient fleet began to share their true knowledge, not as fully formed technologies, but as seeds of understanding that humanity would need to nurture and grow on their own. But then, just as victory seemed certain, Dr. Hayes noticed something in his readings that made him pause. "Captain," he said, his voice tight with concern, "the temporal energy, it's not just resetting our technology. It's showing us something else. Something our ancestors hid so deeply that even they forgot about it." The viewport shifted one final time, revealing a truth so profound that it would forever change humanity's understanding of not just their past, but their very nature. And as Sarah Chen stood witness to this revelation, she realized that this wasn't the end of their journey. It was just the first step into a much larger universe. Dr. Hayes' discovery rippled through the observation deck as the viewport revealed ancient Earth, but not as any historical record had shown it. The image showed vast cities that seamlessly blended with nature, powered by crystalline structures that looked remarkably similar to the fleet surrounding them. Humanity hadn't just been guardians. They had been architects of a civilization that had achieved harmony with both technology and nature. Our greatest achievement, the ancient voice explained, wasn't the power we wielded, but the wisdom to understand when not to use it. The Void Dancers could never comprehend this, the strength found in restraint. Sarah watched as the final pieces of the false timeline dissolved away, replaced by the seeds of true innovation. The process wasn't destroying human progress. It was purifying it, showing them glimpses of the path they should have taken, would take now, with clear eyes and untainted purpose. Ambassador Zextel stepped forward, his crystalline form resonating with newfound respect. "The Council has long wondered why humans advanced so quickly, yet retained such contradictions. Now we understand. Your species never lost its original wisdom. It was merely buried, waiting for the right moment to resurface." The ancient fleet began to descend from its geometric pattern, each ship taking up position around the Council flagship. But they weren't the cold, mechanical vessels they'd first appeared to be. In the untainted light of true human achievement, they looked almost organic, like extensions of human consciousness given form among the stars. "The path forward will not be easy," the ancient voice cautioned. "You must rebuild from the foundations up, this time following the true patterns of discovery. But you will not walk this path alone." As the voice spoke, the ships began sharing their templates, not of advanced technology, but of the principles underlying reality itself. Dr. Hayes examined the new data with wonder. "It's beautiful," he whispered. "All this time, we thought we needed to push harder, go faster, reach further. But the real advancement comes from understanding the connections that were always there." Sarah felt a deep sense of peace settle over her. The loss of their false achievements no longer seemed like a sacrifice, but a liberation. Humanity would climb the ladder to the stars again, but this time on their own terms, building each step with true understanding. The viewport showed one final image. Earth as it would be, once they embraced their true heritage. Not a planet covered in sprawling cities and artificial structures, but a world where human innovation enhanced nature rather than replaced it. A world worthy of the guardians they had once been, and would become again. "Remember," the ancient voice said, beginning to fade as the fleet's consciousness merged with humanity's collective wisdom, "the greatest power lies not in what you can build, but in what you choose not to build. The void dancers will return, seeking new ways to tempt and corrupt. But now you remember who you are, who you have always been. As the voice faded completely, the fleet remained, no longer separate entities, but now part of humanity's restored heritage. The alien delegates watched in amazement as the ships responded to human thought, not through technology, but through the deepest connections of consciousness itself. Sarah turned to her crew, seeing in their eyes the same mix of wonder and determination she felt. They had lost the false future that had been handed to them, but gained something far more precious, the truth of their past and the freedom to forge their own destiny. "Well," she said, a slight smile playing at her lips, "it looks like we have some building to do." She gazed out at the stars, seeing them now not as distant objectives to be conquered, but as ancient friends waiting to be remembered. "And this time we'll do it right." The ancient fleet pulsed an agreement, ready to guide but not to lead, as humanity took its first true steps back to the stars. The future that awaited them would be earned through wisdom rather than given through deception, and that would make all the difference.